All right, good morning, trade pros. Welcome to morning update for this beautiful Tuesday, September 17th, 2019. This is George Papazov from Trade Pro Academy, joined by Mark on the right and Vicky on the left. Azalea is away today. She'll be back tomorrow. All right, today starts an important FOMC meeting minutes, or FOMC meeting. It's a two-day meeting between Federal Reserve voting members. All right, and they're starting their two-day policy meeting today. Against the backdrops of a market really hopeful for an interest rate cut. But the federal funds rate futures, which aim to speculate on the probability of a rate cut or policy change, on Monday was pricing in a 34% chance that the Fed will not do anything and stay put on interest rates. That's a really interesting number because the probability a month ago was zero. A month ago, everyone anticipated at least a quarter point of a cut or one cut. And today, or a week ago, it was just 5.4%, and today it stands at 34%. So there's more likelihood being built in this market that there is no rate cut. I think what the Federal Reserve is going to do, we'll talk more about this tomorrow as it's the big Fed decision day. I think what the Fed's probably more inclined to do is cut rates one time this upcoming Wednesday, tomorrow afternoon, and then say that they're not going to cut rates anymore for the rest of the year. The market's going to hate that, and there's an opportunity for a puke here to happen to the downside. All right, in other news, oil pressure. Saudi Aramco said that it could take months to fully restore their output at its massive processing facility and responsible for 5% of world oil output and 50% of Saudi Arabia's oil output. All right, analysts saying the damage is more severe than initially thought, and crude futures are holding most of yesterday's gains. Investors are looking for a bit of a clearer picture of how the supply disruption is going to come back online. And as traders and investors, we're also worried about the potential of a future attack. This is supposed to be an event that's highly unlikely, that wouldn't happen. That's the worst case scenario. And it just did quietly on a weekend. 20 drones apparently launched missiles and hit Saudi Arabia. So, the energy complex is elevated because of that. So are tensions and uncertainty. And the big questions are, when will supply be back online and what will be done to prevent this in the past? Putin from Russia trolled Saudi Arabia and said that you should have bought our missile defense system. Iran bought it, and so did China, and you should have too. Troll them at a conference. It's kind of interesting to see that. All right. Another thing that's certain, Donald Trump probably won't have political support to actually order and launch strikes on Iran, missile strikes. A lot of senators are speaking out and saying, look, it's not in our legislation or it's not in our capacity to assist other nations. It's their problem, is sort of the congressional view on that. And Donald Trump would probably need approval or would seek it. And as you guys remember, the tensions between Saudi Arabia and U.S. escalated when Khashoggi was killed just a couple months ago. All right, there was a lot of pressure being on the Saudi Arabia country to reveal some of the details, and that sort of went quiet. So it's interesting to see there wouldn't be as much congressional approval. So that rules out a strike. John Bolton left, Trump's security advisor, who's more of a war hawk, and then this event happens. I think that these events are too linked in together to seem coincidental, but I'm not going to go into it because that's going to upset a lot of people. In other news, WeWork's IPO is postponed. They were supposed to begin a roadshow this week, but that seems to have been delayed. The IPO is now pushed forward to October, all right, at the earliest. And there's even a potential that it doesn't happen in 2019, gets pushed over to 2020. It's growing concerns from WeWork's biggest investor from Japan, SoftBank. They put in a valuation of $47 billion. They gave WeWork money at a $47 billion valuation, and now they're trying to go IPO or public at 15 to 20 billion valuation or even lower. So SoftBank takes a big hit on the valuations, but WeWork needs a lot of capital, up to $6 billion to continue to finance their negative operations. All right. WeWork hasn't made $1 of profit in its entire existence. And I think that's very reminiscent of the business cycle that we're in. These companies go IPO, just hoarding and hemorrhaging money and losing a ton, but they have scale. And if you IPO it, the profits will come. That's what people believe. I worked for Facebook, but a lot of other companies are struggling with that model. And, traditional investors, people have seen multiple cycles, boom and bust. They're super concerned about that, myself included. All right. However, kudos to them. They're doing it. So WeWork IPO delayed. In today's markets, Asia, Japan's flat. Hong Kong's down 1.2%. China's almost down 2%. India's down almost 2% as well. In Europe at midday, London's up 0.2. Paris is up 0.1. Frankfurt's down 0.2%. So markets are flat. In the U.S., futures are down a little bit. Dow's down 0.2. S&P's down 0.1. Nasdaq's down 0.2%. Right across the board. However, I think that with the contract expiry coming up this Friday and also the big Fed meeting tomorrow, I think that the futures markets today may be slow in U.S. equities. The opportunity is by far in oil in today's session, and we'll be trading that pretty actively. Crude oil prices down about 1.8%, but rallying off of the overnight lows. Yesterday's low was set at 59.94. Overnight low at 61.58. Open around 62.06. And we're putting in a little bit of a consolidation here right off the open. Gold price is down 0.4%, but rebounding a little bit from the previous day lows as well at the 8:20 pit session open around 15.11. All right, previous day low, yesterday's low was 15.03.40. That was the prior day low, and the Globex overnight low is 1,590 cents. So gold is tapping that level once again. All right, gold to the downside. Crude oil is giving back some of the gains, but super bullish, and that's putting in concerns in the stock market to the downside. High crude prices are not good for stocks. All right, no matter what you've heard, it's not good in the long term. Short term, it might get a boost. Long term, it is not. Crude oil is a really big input cost in transportation and plastics production. So companies' costs go up. It also will drive inflation up, which will push the Fed to be less dovish and, in fact, maybe even more hawkish at a time in the near future, which means this crude oil market being really strong is beneficial to only crude oil producers and exporters. All right. And so watch for the pump, too. I think that by now, especially by the weekend, you're going to see a 15 to 30 cent hike per gallon. Who knows what it'll be in Canada? I think I'll be pumping. I mean, the AMG only chugs the best, so I'll probably be pumping at $2. I don't know what it's going to be. It won't be $2 per liter, but we'll figure it out. All right, Bitcoin's down 1.2% in today's economic calendar. 9:15, we got industrial production. 10 a.m., we have the NAHB housing market index, or NAHB. I like the NAHB better. 4 p.m., we have TIC, Treasury International Capital, and that wraps up the calendar. Tomorrow's the big day. We're trading that in our elite room. Join us and trade it with the elite team. We tend to do very well in FOMC meeting environments. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., we have the actual statement and the rate decision. And at 2:30, we have the Jerome Powell press conference. All right, guys, you have a good day. I'm going to turn it over to a good man, Boxy, here to talk about oil. And we're going to get started. Appreciate you all. Have a great day. Oh, by the way, this Friday at 1:30 p.m., I almost forgot to mention this. I'll put the link in the description a little bit later on in the day, and I'll definitely put it in tomorrow. But at 1:30 p.m. on Friday, a good friend of mine, Anthony Drager's coming into the city in Toronto, and we're going to sit down and do a Q&A session for you guys together. 2 Titans in one room. We're going to answer your questions. I'm really looking forward to it. Meeting with him and then answering the questions that you have in a live Q&A format with my good buddy Anthony. He has really good insight on order flow, former prop trader and floor trader. So you can ask him anything. It's going to be an awesome discussion. So we'll put the link up for tomorrow morning. You guys have a great day. Appreciate y'all. Send you love, joy, and happiness. And we'll see you tomorrow. Manage your risk, trade pro. Goodbye. All right, trade pros. I'm going to send it over to Boxy for oil. And let me end the YouTube live stream so I can tell you something exciting that has me excited. There's good news.